Hi, this is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to The Krypton
Report, the All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. That's my sentiment exactly, James. Man,
sorry.
What a day. It's been beat. Welcome everybody to the Nap Time Report here at Krypton. Man, it's been a heck of a week for only being Thursday. Like, you know, I was teaching today, and at the school, like, they don't go on Fridays because Fridays is dedicated to all remote learners and cleaning thorough even more and like in depth, and it's kind of just helped them keep a good schedule. So they don't go on Fridays, and so the feeling, the energy is like a Friday today, and I had to keep telling myself like it's Thursday, and
well, by early Tuesday afternoon, it felt like the next day should have been Friday. So
man. It's been a rough week here in Ohio, getting punched in the face and some personal stuff. With just jobs, and it's we're gonna make it through. And I injured my hand, and like it's swollen, and my thumb's all sore. I can't use it real great, so that sucks. But we need to have some fun, James. We need to have some fun. We need to talk about comics, the important things in our lives, and DC properties, and you know, just
that is one of them, yes.
You know, the things that don't make us just want to cry sometimes. So, let's jump into some news, okay? Here we go. Dun-dun-dun-dun. And I don't really have an order for this. We'll start with this. Jim Gaffigan has been cast on Stargirl to be the original Thunderbolt. Sweet. I love
yeah.
I love Gaffigan's comedy. I've liked him as an actor where I've seen him. He had his show, the Jim Gaffigan show that I think it was like I'm trying to remember. It was on one of those channels that used to have just old stuff, but then started doing new stuff. It's not MeTV. TV Land. I think it was on TV Land is what it was. So I'm cool. Like, I think it's interesting, like, just someone kind of fun and lovable. Like, if they're going to do it, like, maybe he's, like, now down on his luck and just kind of broken as a person now. You know, see what that takes us. I mean, Stargirl definitely surprises us as a show, and we know it's filming, so that's exciting. Like,
yeah,
I look forward to seeing what they bring us with this announcement. But give me some you know, beyond the pale.
I mean, he's going to be the Djinn that lives, the fifth dimensional Djinn that lives inside of the pen.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. So it's even better.
He's going to be a CGI character. He's going to be the Djinn that grants wishes, that lives inside the pen. Kind of like the genie in the lamp.
Hot Pockets.
I know, right? Yeah, he's really funny. I'm definitely looking to see what he brings to it. I don't have any familiarity with the character.
Yeah, I really don't.
I didn't even really know that it was something that resided in the pen until I was reading up on some information about the character.
I knew something was in the pen because I bought from Ollie's the Jeff Johns run with Stargirl, where she kind of has the big epiphany about Pat really being her dad and everything. So yeah, I knew a little bit, but not enough to like sit here and tell you about it. Like that's this and that's no.
Right. He's hilarious. I like when he's in that season of that 70s show.
Oh, yeah.
Side's friend.
I always think about on 4th of July. Usually I don't eat a burger, a hot dog, a brat, and a steak, but it's 4th of July. Well, I'll tell you, when I used to have to drive long periods of time and overnight, I would put on my iPod, I'd put Gaffigan on shuffle.
Yeah.
Because listening to stand-up comedy, first of all, is much better for your brain to stay awake than music or like a podcast. I learned this from experience. And 2, listening to a comedy on shuffle is like a mind trip.
That could be wild, considering some the way stand-ups typically work.
Yeah, how they like use a joke to bridge into another joke, but not on shuffle. So that's cool. I'm excited. I hope there's some funny Gaffigan references that us Gaffetonians will figure out. But okay, so you sent me a link to something about Beast Boy on Titans, and now I cannot find the news article.
Well, the gist of the article was they were discussing Beast Boy and his characterization this year, and talking about how tigers were always his favorite character, and that's why he changes into tigers. We did get the one reference to when he changed into a snake.
Yeah.
In the season 2 premiere, but season 2 episode 1. But they discussed that it's a mental block that he has, something he has to work through, but that he should start to be able to this season change into other animals.
You know why?
Besides just a tiger.
You know why that is, James?
Because they got HBO money?
Yeah. I love how you're thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. Guys, we got money now. Garth,
Right.
you can turn into whatever you want.
Yep.
All right, far out.
So the one thing that I hope is his transformation. Not just the fact that he can transform into more animals, but his transformation gets smoother and faster. Because, if it takes him 20 seconds to change into an animal, it puts him at a serious disadvantage in a fight. In the show and in the comics and stuff, how he can fly up as a small animal or an insect or something and then change into an elephant and fall on somebody.
I think it will. I mean, I think it's just like you said, the mental block and embracing his abilities. Same thing with him getting some sort of attire that he wears that shifts with him, so he's not always naked.
Yeah, and it did say he is going to get a suit, and it's going to be in the middle between what he's wearing in the show, his normal outfit, especially from season 1, and more comic accurate. And it's Titans. We can always count on the costumes usually being pretty good. So
yeah,
we'll see where that lands.
I mean, I just did a rewatch of Titans season 2. And I think I might go back and rewatch season 1. 'Cause I've watched season 1 a second time before, but I think I might rewatch season 1. But yeah, I just rewatched season 2, and all I can say is, man, Beast Boy, here's my quick highlights. 1, it took Dick Grayson way too long to come around to be Nightwing and to become a better person. Because Beast Boy really gets the crap into the stick. He gets screwed over when they fight Trigon, and then he gets screwed over when they just have their falling out in season 2. But like I told you, is if you look at seasons 1 and 2 like a one big season, like a 22, 24 episode series, the arcs work better because at the end of what would be season 1 feels like your mid-season break, and then you come back and you continue on and you have your new villain for the back half, which is the Deathstroke, but you still kind of have your Trigon thread carrying through. So it feels a little bit better like that than thinking, man, it took 2 seasons for Dick Grayson to come around to be Nightwing and to be a better person. But, Titans, while we're on the subject of Titans.
Which, like I said, I wish watching it right now that I hadn't told Jamie about the how they cut off a couple of episodes and changed the finale and changed the season 2 episode 1, because I wish I would have just gotten the thoughts of what's there as a whole.
Yep, I understand completely. It's like you want to talk to somebody, you want to tell them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like,
Because once you break it out, I mean, besides the obvious, you put it in somebody's mind, the disjointedness that's there, as opposed to them just experiencing it and seeing how it goes as one cohesive story, as opposed to, which a lot of people call a failed season finale in the first one. I mean, it failed on different levels, but them ending it on a cliffhanger, isn't necessarily one of them. Especially since everybody knew it was coming back.
That's why I say if you look at it as like the mid-season kind of thing, it works so much better.
But when you have to wait, 10 months to see the next episode here, it's a little more difficult to see in real time how we all experienced it that way.
All right, so Titans. So on set, and there's not a whole lot to go on other than they tease that there's going to be a new Robin appear in Titans season 3. So sweet, like I've said before.
Yeah, the quote was found a new Robin candidate.
Yeah,
or something.
So I'm like, cool. If there is, it better be Tim Drake, just because Tim Drake's not getting any love or representation on anything. The only thing that Tim's got some real representation in is Young Justice. Because he's
and
there.
The Gotham Knights game coming out.
Yeah.
Well, and the Arkham series, but
even then, I feel like it's such a diluted Tim Drake that it feels kind of like it's Damian from afar. Like if you don't know. And same thing with the Gotham game. It's like everyone debated, like, is it Damian or is it Tim? Is it Damian or is it Tim? I'm glad that it's Tim.
Yeah, I like the Tim in Young Justice, definitely. And I picked up that Super Sons book, the arc when Tim came back as Batman and left as Savior, and you've got the Titans of the future being the new Justice League and stuff.
Oh yeah,
I got that trade.
Nice.
So
nice.
Yep, I picked that up. I like that story.
So that is our Titans news. Let's see. We've seen some more behind-the-scene photos of Batwoman, and it's looking good. Like, I'm actually excited for Batwoman to come back with the new Batwoman, like in the Batmobile or Batwoman-mobile. It's not, that's not a whole lot, but it's just cool to mention.
Looks like an RX-8 underneath that stylized body.
I'll let you take that over because I don't know.
It's a Mazda RX-8. It was a car you've seen a few times in the Fast and Furious movies, especially the early ones, like the first 3, 4 of them.
Let's see here. I'm drinking my Superman coffee. They are okay. So this is interesting. Sticking with the CW verse here, they are going to film a backdoor pilot for a potential spinoff of Black Lightning with Painkiller. Yeah, long pause. I know. I like the character. He's had a cool arc in the past, 3 seasons. But I'm not sure where you would take the character by himself. in his own series. You know what I'm saying? Like, some characters feel like they can build a world and fill out a world. I don't know. You know, I mean, think about, like, other than Supergirl, every Arrowverse show that started on the CW, because Supergirl didn't start on the CW. Same thing technically with Black Lightning. It was for Fox, but Fox didn't pick up the pilot, so CW did. So it was never, kind of engineered the same way.
Worked out for them.
Oh, yeah, it worked out great. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so Flash spun out of Arrow. Legends spun out of Arrow. So Batwoman spun out of Arrow. All the spin-offs kind of, had a backdoor pilot or some sort of way of getting in the universe from Arrow.
Yeah, from Arrow and from the Flash, and just the way the universe built on top of each other.
Yeah, because Ray was introduced, first in Arrow, and he was, because Ray and White Canary were the two main Legends leads, and they came from Arrow, and then the rest came from Flash. So, even Constantine came from Arrow. So the fact that we're now trying to spin out of another series is interesting. But I kind of feel like Painkiller is going to be kind of like the fact that Supernatural has gone on for 15 seasons and it's had 2 backdoor spin-off pilots made that never took off.
Yeah.
And I kind of would have liked to have watched The Wayward Sisters. But I kind of would have liked to have seen that show.
Yeah, I would have checked that one out.
Because I liked...
The backdoor pilot episode was pretty good.
Exactly. I liked Donna, and I liked Jodie. So I would have definitely watched it. So anyways, that's cool. They just announced that today as of this recording. Let's see. Zach. Oh, wait. Hold on. So while we're here, let me pull it up. Jump back. How long ago did they announce this? Because I feel like we haven't talked in forever, but yet it hasn't been that long. Okay. So
Right.
They announced the premiere dates for several of our shows. And this is pretty crazy, because once again, things are getting pushed back. But we were told that, shows were coming back in January. But Batwoman is coming back January 17th. Black Lightning returns February 8th. And then my favorite night of television, The Flash and Superman and Lois, will be on February 23rd.
And as long as they step the Flash up this season, probably be pretty good night.
And all I'm saying is, yay, that's my birthday month. But, man, it sucks because Solomon was really rooting for it to premiere on his birthday. And his birthday actually fell on a Tuesday this year. And so it kind of sucks. But what sucks even more is, they told us it would be January. Now it's in February. But it's at the end of February, almost March. So I'm just like, can we please not have breaks? Instead of doing all these breaks that they usually do, just show the show straight.
In my opinion, over there, they should cut these shows down to 13 to 16 episodes and just do year-round programming. And so that way we can just have these shows continuously.
Because
throughout the year.
That puts it almost in March. So what does that make the mid-season? May? Late
it would
May or
be
June?
just 2 months later, yeah.
And that's when we would get Stargirl and Supergirl, presumably, and Legends.
Well, because you think that this year they probably will end up going straight on through, considering we may. There may not be March Madness and stuff like that coming up. So, they start in late February. They just play straight on through.
So it's going to be very interesting. We're going to be busy, that's for sure. our schedule kind of freed up for another month. Man, writing the schedule has been fun, but there's more important things. So let's see what else. Zack Snyder teased kind of Martian Manhunter. Nothing real big. Like, it's a picture of Zack holding his phone with a picture of Martian Manhunter that you can barely make out any details on. And it's like, I think it's more concept art type. Or
yes, he was on a stream, like a Zoom call with like Wonder Meg and those ladies and a bunch of stuff like that. And he pulled it up on his phone. And he kind of flipped it to the camera and showed them only for like a second and a half. But, everybody got real excited. And it's been flying around. That image has been flying around everywhere.
So that's exciting. I mean, that's just cool. Just confirmation more that, Martian Manhunter is to appear, and that's like the Martian Manhunter. And I guess there's a big rumor that we're going to get something from Zack next Tuesday, the 17th. So keep our eyes peeled for that.
Yeah, just seen that rumor, the possible trailer or something like that for the fans on the anniversary date.
And then another thing is today we got this John Cena for the John Cena show with the Peacemaker. They just announced that Jen Holland as Amelia Harcourt. I don't know who that character is. Robert Pattinson as Augie Smith. Don't care who the character is. If it's Robert Patrick, sorry, not Pattinson. Jesus, I'm tired. If it's Robert Patrick, it'll be awesome. The man is a great actor. And then I'm looking at their Twitter handles instead of their actual names. Thanks, HBO Max. Danny B as Leota Abadaway. Oh, I don't know. I can't read. And then the last one is Chris Conrad as Vigilante. And you know what? He's the only one I know on here. You know why I know who Chris Conrad is? Two things. He played on Young Hercules, and then he was the replacement for Lyndon Ashby in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the movie, who died as Johnny Cage at the very beginning of the movie.
Well, I know that guy, yeah.
Because I was obsessed with those movies when I was a child. And so I knew the actors and everything. So that's cool. He's going to be Vigilante. And that's the other thing is, he's the only character name I know is So Vigilante's kind of an odd one. And I say that in the sense that it's neat because this is a TV series spawned from, it's the first DC TV series spawned out of the movieverse. So technically Vigilante isn't a redo of a character, because we got one form of Vigilante on Arrow. And you know how we kind of talked about how they haven't duplicated yet on TV characters, but they've done it in films. And this is kind of that weird ground where it's coming from the film universe, but it's going to be on TV.
Right.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. Like I said, that's announced today. And then the last piece of news I have, and I don't have my article, is DC is going to be moving to what they're calling the Omniverse, where they're going to have a very, very loose, if not at all, like existing canon, where it won't be a tight canon. It'll be an Omniverse of stories that writers will have more freedom and creativity in, and
it's literally the greater multiverse that the Omniverse is literally the greater multiverse that encapsulate all the other multiverses everywhere.
So I think they should just make a book that has a stamp on it that tells us what Earth we're on, and because I like continuity. Because to me, that's your story. Because, like, if you're writing Superman and I'm writing Superman, okay? And in your story, he can blow out the sun with a breath. And in my story, he can't fly into space without the help of a suit. Which one is right about a character? You know what I'm saying? It makes too many little differences in the story, and it causes too much of that arguments amongst fans of, no he can't, yes he can, no he can't, yes he can, because there's not a consistent writing tone. Maybe you want to strip your Superman down and go back to like Action Comics #1, and I want Super God.
Yeah, DC 1 million Superman Prime.
Yeah, I mean, so it's going to be interesting. I guess that's going to be part of the fallout of death metal, which I feel like death metal was doing its thing, but then all of a sudden it's kind of surprised us that, hey, this book is more important than you thought. Like, this is a crisis going on over here that you didn't really realize that doesn't have the term crisis in it.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like we're at with death metal. Because, like, there's some really cool books coming out next month from the death metal universe that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I just picked up, what is it? The Extreme something? I can't. Bring me that book. Yes.
Bring me that book, says Master.
I picked this up today. Infinite Hour Extreme. It's a death metal book, and it's all about Lobo.
I saw that, and I thought about that.
And I like Lobo more than you do, so I was definitely excited. And I was like, okay, well, they did the Batman Who Frags that I showed you guys.
Yep.
He's in here. Batman injected himself with Zarnian DNA. But yeah, the whole book is actually pretty interesting. It's all Lobo and stuff. But they've even got a ad for another death metal one shot in December called The Last 52: War of the Multiverses.
Yep, I actually have that requested from my comic book shop. I basically looked at that thing that's the Superman homepage put out with all the Superman related titles coming in December, and just went through it and made sure that I had everything that was needed, and I just basically wrote it up and took it in and handed it to my guy at the shop so he doesn't forget. Because he's a nice guy, but he might forget.
Yeah. So, I've been picking up all the death metal one shots because the one shots seem very interesting. And I have been reading the Justice League book. I've been reading the mainline book for death metal, and it's very good how they all tie in together. And it's a pretty big story taking place in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've kept up. I've read every death metal issue and tie-in so far.
Cool. That sounds good. So let's see. That's all the news. We'll keep everyone posted as we find out more. I try to only talk about stuff I know for sure. I don't like to really, talk on rumors and all that fun jazz. Oh, yeah, here's something that we didn't talk on. So supposedly, and this is more, it's not as rumory, but it's looking at doing a one-shot sequel for Three Jokers. Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok are. So we'll see what that all comes to. But it seems like Three Jokers sold great, but wasn't as well received. And I've listened to some different podcasts talk about it, and I think it's just kind of got to settle between the story that gave us the expectations and everything.
Well, like they were talking about on Bat Force when they were saying 5 years of expectations.
Yep. That's what, and that's, that's
on top of this book.
And that's why I can't get mad at people. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you said, hey, Tyler, they're going to make a Three Jokers, and then, like, 2 weeks later you hand me the book, cool. Like, I haven't had time to, like, think about it and dwell on it and, like, all the other stuff that's happened in between them, between the idea of Jared Leto's Joker and then Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and then how in the book it teases the Joker with different forms, and then we get the book and it doesn't even look like the Joker, and it doesn't even address, like, the Scott Snyder Joker storyline, like, that was massive and it just feels like, But other than that, I think we're pretty much caught up on news and Blue's Clues and, yeah.
Man, that guy could draw.
Yeah. So, just side note, today when I was teaching
Speed draw for kids.
young children, they were talking about art, and like somebody drew a picture, and like, oh, your picture sucks, and I was just kind of like, you know what, kids, you need to learn a lesson in art about how you can draw things differently and it still be good. It's all about personal preferences. And I taught them this fine lesson by using images from Lee Bermejo as Batman versus Jim Lee's Batman versus like the Bruce Timm Batman.
Perfect.
All good, but it's your personal preference and what you're trying to do with your art, you know? Superman coffee. But let's jump into this. I did not realize that there's actually an Animation Appreciation Day, and it was like October 28th. And we've had this.
Missed it a little bit.
We've had this episode planned for a while, and it was just one I thought would be fun to do, you know, because originally this was supposed to be like, it's Thanksgiving time, holidays are coming, let's have some fun, much like our costume episode, and had I known there was actually an Animation Appreciation Day, we would have moved this up and done this. But we're going to get into Superman and animation. And, man, this was a fun, thing to build. And what we're going to do is before anyone jumps on me about where we start, is we're doing it by TV and film. Okay? So, by looking at TV, our first Superman is from The Super Friends, 1973 through 1985. And it was voiced by Danny Dark. And he's very classic. Technically, think about that. 73, James. Think about that.
Man, that's quite a while ago.
But
before my time.
But, the Super Friends run 73 to 85. That is a long time. And I think
there's a lot of seasons of that show.
And I mean, that's pre-Christopher Reeve. The Super Friends era started before Reeve and after. It went till I was born, and then it stopped.
I'm glad. I mean, I watched some of them on DC Universe. I keep saying this, but I hope the old DC content that doesn't stream anywhere goes over to HBO Max.
Yeah, that
build
is,
up that DC library over there.
That is my biggest thing with the HBO Max and DC bridge is I want Superboy, because I'm still working through it. The old cartoons like this, because I go back and watch them little by little. 90s Flash, Wonder Woman from the 70s.
Push everything over there. Everything that's on DC Universe, push it over there.
Exactly, and keep it there. The old stuff, don't drop it and add it. Just keep it there. That's what I love about DC Universe. Is the only stuff that gets dropped and added is like the newer stuff, which is fine because I own all that. It's the older stuff that I'm mining that I don't own. And some of this, as we'll go through, I've recently purchased because I wanted to have, but. Danny Dark's voice for Superman, if you're not familiar with it, it's not bad. There's a great video on YouTube of all the voices of Superman, and it's very announcer kind of. If we go to our next slide, number 4, we'll notice that this is interesting. And I think I meant to switch these, so I apologize. I screwed up here. My bad. The New Adventures of Superman.
How dare you, Tyler?
I know. I'm not
Should
perfect.
Be ashamed.
I'm not perfect. The New Adventures of Superman was actually 1966 to 1970, and it was voiced by Bud Collyer. Classic radio Bud Collyer.
Mm-hmm.
And the animation's cool, very smooth, very bright, more Silver Age based because that's the time that we're in. Very basic animation. I always think back like the Filmation style kind of being like some of that. If people aren't familiar with like Filmation, their biggest thing was He-Man. I always think about, or like, 60s Hanna-Barbera, where if you look at it like Scooby-Doo, where like the bodies don't move, but maybe just the head does, because that's the only thing they're animating, so they can keep the same cell up longer. So just one part, like the head moves, to make the animation a little easier. Wonder Woman's calling James, so.
Sorry about that.
But it's cool. I mean, I don't own any of the Adventures of Superman. I've tried finding some, but I just don't feel like paying an arm and a leg for it. I do own a couple seasons of the Super Friends, because I actually found them at the thrift store. My mother-in-law found them at the thrift store and got them for me.
Oh, excellent.
Because you know me, got to keep that physical media. So the next slide, so technically we're on slide 5, is Superman. What's 1988, and it's referred to as the Ruby Spear series. Very John Byrne looking, very John Byrne inspired. As far as the drawing, animation still has a little bit of that Filmation vibe to it. I saw this on sale at Target one time, and when I went back to buy it, because I wasn't sure if it was the one that I already had or not, because sometimes they keep repackaging these things, and you end up buying them again without realizing it. And they didn't have it, so I ended up actually buying the Ruby Spear Superman series on iTunes. So I own it digitally through iTunes just because I really wanted to watch it, and I had a gift card. And I've made my way through that slowly. Well, eventually we'll get around to reviewing it one day. But it's interesting. It's just, that late 80s cartoons. Like I said, heavily John Byrne inspired from the way the art is. The voice is Bo Weaver. He's not a bad Superman voice, but number 6, James, take us there. What we got?
Superman, the animated series from 1996 to 2000, voiced by Tim Daly. And this was my jam growing up.
I actually was sitting with Solomon yesterday talking about when he was born as a baby. I ended up buying, because I was up with him a lot in his nursery, and I told him, I said, I ended up buying the entire Superman the Animated Series on DVD, and I would sit there and rock him and feed him, or just lay there on the couch with him as a baby, and I rewatched the entire series.
Oh yeah, I bought this. I bought this DVD complete set, and I am waiting, eagerly anticipating the Blu-ray remastered version.
And I'll buy that too.
Yes, I will definitely buy that. I haven't gotten the Blu-ray for Batman or the Blu-ray for Batman Beyond, but I'll definitely get the Superman early when that one comes out.
Because I used to go and buy, I had my thing was thrifting, in the sense of I'd go to FYE or wherever and find do they have it, or is it previously owned, a buybacks or whatever, or a Half Price Books. I have my list of stuff, and I go and find, recently from Half Price Books, I just bought season 1 of Batman 66 on Blu-ray for $7. I got season 1. I already own I already own season 3 on DVD, so I wasn't planning on buying the whole box set, but and it was kind of exciting because and I'm keeping my eye out because I always like to buy the Arrowverse shows at Thanksgiving, Black Friday time, because they'll put the seasons for $15 for DVD and $10 or $15 for Blu-ray and $10 for DVD. And that's usually when I buy my past seasons. But back to Tim here. This is probably the iconic voice. This is probably the voice that everyone thinks of anymore when they think of Superman. He's been used multiple times and other projects. And this is the voice that kind of stays with me a lot.
Yeah, that's the voice I associate most with Superman. They're pretty close. I can tell the difference between Tim Daly and George Newbern. They're pretty close, but
They are pretty.
yeah, Tim Daly is the one that I associate most with Superman. And I was real happy when he came back for like Public Enemies and Batman Superman Apocalypse, or Superman Batman Apocalypse.
I agree. So my slides are a little out of order, and I'm not sure why, but I'm going to fix it before I add it for the everyone here to enjoy on our page. So that brings us into the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited years, which is 2006. So right as Superman the Animated Series is ending, we picked up Justice League, and that's where we get George Newbern. And for those who may not know, right now, Michael Rosenbaum's podcast Inside of You is doing a Justice League reunion episode where every one of the voice actors of the core main Justice League members are there except Kevin Conroy. And George Newbern, I mean, he's had a continued career with Superman, from the Injustice games to some of the direct videos.
Yeah, he's still gone back and forth with Tim Daly over the years for the voice of Superman in different places.
And that's why these two are kind of like tied, like in a way, you kind of go back and forth because they both are integrated so well. And we didn't mention it too much, but like, okay, so the Tim Daly Superman, there's definitely a little bit of looking at the animation, there's a little bit more of a softness to the face. And this isn't a Batman comparison, but like the animation for Superman, the animation is the same as the animation that was used for the Gotham, they call it like the New Gotham Adventures or the Gotham Knights. What I refer to as the season 4 of Batman the Animated Series with Tim Drake and Nightwing. Where Batman and Superman actually cross over for the first time. And then for those who don't know,
the world's finest episodes.
Yep. And if you think about it, in Superman the Animated Series,
I love those episodes.
He meets Batman. He meets Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern. He meets Barry Allen, Flash, and he meets Aquaman. And then we get to Justice League, and we're at John Stewart, Green Lantern, Wally West, Flash, and a completely like more BA Aquaman. Even though it's all in continuity, it's kind of like, oh, there's a lot of things that have happened leading up to Justice League. But the animation's a little bit more square, a little bit more harder lines. The colors pop a little bit more because I think there was more digital coloring and stuff done for
New
Justice
Batman
League.
Adventures.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's more digital coloring and stuff done in Justice League than there was, because there's more of a brightness in Justice League than there was in Superman the Animated Series. But like he looks a little bit more barrel chested and like top heavy, more so than he did in Superman the Animated Series. But this is kind of like the gold standard, I feel. These two, because I feel like these two kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, it was definitely the change in animation that that went through for the new Batman Adventures and going into Justice League. They were a little bit softer, a little rounder. And then the farther it got, it was like more hard lines and more angles.
Mm-hmm. So it's one of those interesting kind of things, you know.
Yeah, I remember watching World's Finest with the commentary on, and they're talking about how they used a different animation studio and how they were trying this new technique with colors and stuff, and that's why, like, the colors, the green, the light from the kryptonite and the lights inside of the club that Batman enters in first when Superman shows up afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
All that lighting and stuff, that was all done. That was brand new. It was new technique and stuff like that for the animation.
So it's very, very interesting. So, okay. So moving on, we got George Newbern here, okay? In 2003, he appeared on Static Shock as Superman. And it's pretty much the same model drawing as it was in the Justice League, because Static Shock is in that continuity of comics, cartoons. Though I'm not as familiar with, like we've talked about before, I never got to watch the show because it just came on, and I didn't get to watch all of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, honestly, till it hit DVD. A friend of mine owned them all, and I borrowed them, and I probably watched, I think, all of it in 2 days. Like, I just back to back to back. Like, I loved it. And then and then I went out and bought it because it was just, you know, it was on that time I was just busy with life, and Cartoon Network was very unreliable. You know, we didn't always have DVR, and my mom didn't believe in cable if my dad wasn't home because he was gone a lot for work, and it was just hard, you know, to keep up with stuff. So I just, you know, saw it as it came on. You know, this is during that kind of slowly we're about to enter the kind of the decline of the kids WB and Saturday morning cartoon era.
So sad.
It is. Cartoon. You know, honestly, Cartoon Network killed it all. I'm gonna go on a tangent here. Once you got Cartoon Network and they could do what they wanted, and you stopped getting every station competing for cartoons, and once slowly there stopped being less cartoons, they started to make less toys. When they started, that's why you see the same kind of toy lines repeated over and over, and you don't really see new toys for new properties because no one makes new properties anymore. And that started the decline of toy stores. Because I can tell you right now, like, it's all a conspiracy, man. You know, used to you'd watch, like, they had cartoons come on real quick. I'll throw these at you. It was called Vortex, Beast Wars, Mummies Alive, or like at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, weekdays. And those things sold toys. Like, every cartoon had a toy line. That's why, you know, it breaks my heart to watch the toys that made us, because we don't have that energy anymore. You know, everything had a toy line, and you could go to toys, and I would see like Power Rangers, VR Troopers, Beetleborgs, Masked Rider, X-Men,
Spider-Man, Street Sharks,
Warriors of Virtue. I mean, every movie had toys too. So like, you had the Warriors of Virtue. You had Iron Man from the Iron Man cartoon, and the Fantastic Four, and the Hulk, and Savage Dragon, and Spawn, who didn't even have a cartoon, but there were Spawn toys. You know, you had Batman Returns.
Well, he did have a cartoon, but it was for adults.
Yes. That's called an animated series.
Yeah.
You had Batman Returns toys
this is true.
next to the Batman the Animated Series toys. Like, you know, now everything's made for our generation as a collector's market. And, I mean, really, our generation.
Right, toys are made for grown-ups.
Yes. I mean, I walked around the toys with the kids the other day, and I'm looking at stuff that I'm like, they just put back the original He-Man action figures. Like, they're repackaging the original He-Man action figures, and they're reselling to us to try to pass on to our children. But that's a whole nother podcast for another day. So the year is now 2004, and we are at The Batman. Superman is now voiced by George Newbern again. So we're keeping with his classic Batman voice, Superman voice in the Batman, and his look, still pretty classic, a little darker, but fit into that animation style of the Batman. Like Batman has a little bit more of a rounder looking jaw line. Superman still has his square jaw, trunks. Looks good, and it looks a little Brandon Routhie. Just the body frame style.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's very classic. It's straight classic, but he's very lean, tall, strong. I haven't actually gotten to that point in the Batman yet.
The Batman becomes a whole new show at season 3, just because they change up the song. That's when they do something different, where they introduce Batgirl before they do Robin.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's cool. They bring her in, and in season 4 they bring Robin in, and I really like Robin and the Batman. And then the last season 5, I think, is when we get all the other Justice League people in.
Yeah, I haven't gotten that far. I'm in season 3.
So, all right, moving on. The next one is a one and done episode, but worth mentioning. Krypto the Superdog ran from 2005 to 2006 on Kids WB, or the CW Kids Network, because it all started to change. And Superman was voiced by Michael Dangerfield. This was Krypto the Superdog. It was an okay series, but my kids enjoy it, and that's all that matters. So I actually ended up purchasing this series from iTunes, because I bought one episode just to try it out and kind of just have as a reference. And the kids liked it so much. I'm like, Dad, can we watch another one? And I just ended up buying the whole series. And,
nice.
They like it and they enjoy it. Sayla had told me some of the most beautiful things I've ever heard, that when we get a new dog, we're naming it Krypto.
Oh, nice.
So
better get a white one.
Good job, daughter.
Better get a white one.
That's my girl.
White puppy.
But this is still very classic, but it's very brightly colored. Very soft, lens feel. The face is softer, the hair is shorter. It doesn't really have the pop curl as much. And he's only been in one episode. So, but it was worth pointing out because it was representation. And then here we go, James. Here's our man. 2006 to 2008, Legion of Superheroes. Voiced by Yuri Lowenthal. This is our young Clark. So he has more of that messy hair, a little bit more stick figure, lean, small, has a Legion belt, because he's got his Legion symbol in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, it's a good look.
We spoke about it when we watched the pilot, when he puts the suit on and it shrinks down and to fit him. It was pretty cool, but it's just a classic suit.
All the capes worth mentioning, going back real quick, we didn't really mention, are all about top of the boot length.
Ah, yes.
So after Yuri here, our next one is Roger Rose, who voiced Superman on Batman Brave and the Bold. And this is the shortest cape I've ever seen on Superman.
Yes, it is. It's halfway down the thigh.
Yeah, and he's very big.
Well above the knee.
He's very just like the animation style of Batman Brave and the Bold period, very big, very big arms, still very top heavy. You know what I'm saying? Still very much in that. Now, I don't want to say Bruce Timm style-esque, but very top heavy and big and broad and barrel chested looking man.
Right.
So
as wide as the side of a barn.
Right. You ain't. I think we're gonna pick him out of a crowd.
Yeah.
But then the next we get.
Not many people stand 4.5 feet wide, shoulder to shoulder.
We get in 2010, Young Justice, where Superman is voiced by Nolan North, which I've actually come to really appreciate his Superman voice. You know, because he voices both Superman and Connor on the show.
Yeah, he just pitches up his voice a little bit so he sounds slightly younger as Superboy than he does Superman.
But I like this look of Superman. It's very classic, a little bit darker reds, more proportionate,
but not maroon.
Yeah.
Still red.
And you know, the very square kind of style for Young Justice. But I actually really like Nolan's voice. He's probably my fourth favorite Superman voice. And we'll get into who our favorite voices are.
Well, he doesn't get to be Superman all that often.
No, he's not.
The show is on the young people, so he's definitely Superboy more often than he is Superman.
And that's why I never really thought of him much, like the Superman voice. But rewatching it now, where Brian was doing his first ever watch, I don't know how that's possible. I mean, I've basically been praising this show, and you and I did when season 3 dropped, and he hadn't watched it. But he came over about a week ago, I think it was, and we were trying to figure out what to kind of hang out and watch because the kids were around. So we picked up with him where he was watching in Young Justice, and Solomon became like engrossed in it. And we had watched it before, but it's like he didn't pay a lot of attention to it, and now he's in it, man. Like, he is in it. So we went back and we finished season 1 from where the point where we watched it with Brian, but then we went back to the beginning and we're watching it. And, you know, he has really enjoyed it. And that's why I'm, like, paying attention to some details differently and paying attention to Nolan's voice. All right, so the next slide.
Well, the more you watch that show, the more you pick up, the more you see the different nuances of all of the characters on screen, not just the main ones you see repeatedly.
So the next one is DC Superhero Friends, was like a kids play show. I was doing my research. You can tell it's very New 52 inspired, even though this came out in 2010. That's what it said when I researched it. New 52 dropped in 11, so I don't know, but that's what it said online. You know, very kids, blocky, toy, Fisher-Price based program. Voiced by Matthew Mercer.
I was going to say, doesn't that look like the DC Super Friends toys that are for little kids? Like,
yep.
What's the name of that line?
The Imaginext.
Imaginext, yeah.
Because I got a bunch of them.
And these characters look just like that.
And you know what? That's cool, because I'll tell you one thing I've learned by teaching children is they don't respond as quickly to Superman and the Flash. Everyone responds to Batman, but they don't know these characters like they should because they're not producing content for kids. They're not, you know. We have DC Superhero Girls, which is a great show that I've come to love watching with my daughter. And Teen Titans Go. That's it. But that's something else we can put on. All right, the next slide. Let's clap. This is our man right here, Justice League Action, 2016. Superman, voiced by the great Jason J. Lewis. And this is animated Superman. Proportionate-esque for what it is. Longer cape. Still very blocky. Much like all the Justice League Action stuff is. Very two-dimensional feeling. Yes, I know it's all two-dimensional, but just, you know, perception of on paper and stuff is very two-dimensional compared to like the creation of like a 3D realism. I love Jason's voice of Superman. He's in my top 3. It's kind of a shuffle between him, Tim Daly, and George.
Nice.
And I wish Jason would get more work as Superman.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good the way that they've used Teen Titans to do Teen Titans Go and introduce different characters you wouldn't normally see through Teen Titans, but also Justice League Action. They showed so many different people on so many different levels, and with the shorter time limit they did for each mini episode, they were able to show and introduce a lot of different characters.
Yes. Yes, I mean, they had a lot of characters. I mean, it was a very loose continuity. I mean, nobody makes, like, serious shows anymore. Like, the Bruce
I mean,
Timm
like one of my favorite episodes on that is when Cyborg is playing a video game and they're controlling Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then Cyborg has to play against, is it Arcade? Or am I thinking, or the Toy
Is it Toyman?
Toyman, yeah. He's got to play against Toyman. And I am Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
That really sound like, yep. Like, there's a lot of great, I mean, Justice League Action was actually a really great show, and I cannot believe, like, it hasn't got any more. Like, the toy line was cool for it. They had the small figures, and then they had the 12-inch figures. We have a couple of the 12-inch figures.
Well,
I didn't get any of the small
it was
figures.
on Cartoon Network, right?
Yes, it was.
So why isn't it on HBO Max?
I don't know.
It's not streaming anywhere.
It's not, because it was on Hulu.
It was, yeah.
Because we were going to work on like, this is another one that I bought back when it, like, first came out, and I bought it, like, one episode at a time because I wanted to watch it, and I didn't have cable or anything, and I was like, I really want to watch this show. Back in 2016, when, like, we had an explosion of Superman, you know? We had this came out like December of 2016, or was it 2015? I can't remember. Too much time. It still says Justice League Action is on Hulu. When I pull up my, where is it, streaming app? But I'm pretty sure if I go to Hulu, it's not there. I'll look. I'm hoping
if it's there, you got to have like the live add-on or something, probably.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. It's there, and it says watch with live TV. So yeah. Let's just, that needs to come to HBO Max. It was a great show. We went to McDonald's to try to track down all the Justice League Action figures. But that was the last kind of big, I think, DC push for some sort of kids animation. As we'll see with our next slide, which is Harley Quinn. And once again, this is very classic Superman, trunks and all, and it's voiced by James Wolk. And he's not in it very much, but it was worth mentioning. I think as I was building this, he hadn't appeared on the series, and then he showed up, and I put him on this slideshow. But it's a good look.
Yeah, the blue for Superman has tend to go a little softer tones of blue since the earlier animation episodes. There's just a hard royal blue.
Yep. And so the next slide we'll jump to Superman's appearance on DC Superhero Girls. And ironically, he didn't appear on the other DC Superhero Girls. I think it was actually just called, I think one's called Superhero Girls and one's DC Superhero Girls.
I think they're actually both DC Superhero Girls.
It's so confusing, but
the original DC Superhero Girls, they kind of started on YouTube and then they made them into movies,
right?
Kind of like direct-to-DVD movies. And then they decided to kind of like, I guess they probably got a decent response from that, and they made it into a animated show, which is on Netflix.
Which is crazy because the YouTube videos are just about as long. They're just a couple minutes long, but they're so well done, and there was such a huge explosive toy line for it. there was a huge toy line for all of this.
Yeah, all
And
those dolls and stuff.
there was different size dolls and toys and like costumes, and then they made the home videos, which I have all three of them.
I have one. I have two of them, I think.
And I think the third one, the newest one, the Atlantis one, is on HBO Max. Last time I checked. And then they do this show, which is like a complete reinvention and redesign. And they have the toys for this. And right when Sailor gets hooked on Supergirl, and I want to go get her a good Supergirl doll, they reduced the price and sold out of all these toys. So you can't even find these toys anymore. And I've noticed since having kids, it's that they do the first season, they do a huge push in merchandise on stuff, and then they get rid of it. Like Solomon discovered Lion Guard right as like the end of season 1, and then like all the stores got rid of all the Lion Guard toys. And Lion Guard like bedding and all that stuff that like when you're a kid you want. Yet Disney was still putting out new episodes, but they had no merch for it, which doesn't make sense. But anyways, Superman's very classic, very bright blue. The bright blue kind of reminds me more of a Chris Reeve style suit compared to Kara, who has a darker, more maroon red here in the photo and a darker blue, very much like the early Supergirl TV series costume. The last slide is kind of our segue from TV into film styles, because this is our Nicolas Cage Teen Titans Go Superman. He's seen in the actual TV series with no speaking parts, but when they put him in Teen Titans Go to the movies, it's Nicolas Cage, and it is once again a very bright blue, misproportioned Superman.
Yeah, very top heavy. I mean, the animation in that show anyways, I mean, everybody's got stick legs and they're nothing but upper body, even skinny Beast Boy.
Yeah. And then, so the next slide is kind of it's a big slide because I wasn't going to break down every one of these, but the Lego version. There's tons of direct-to-video Lego DC stuff.
Most of it's classic Batman. You probably get a Batman in the later ones without trunks, maybe, but
yeah,
they're all very classic Batman or Superman.
There's a couple without trunks I've seen. There's most of them with. It's worth mentioning that Nolan North has done a lot of the Lego direct-to-video Superman voicing. So it's nice to see him kind of back. Like, what's neat is I really got into these movies when they did Flash and then Aquaman, and then they did the Batman one that had the Red Hood, and then that one ties right into the new one that's the Shazam one. So they're starting to make them a continuity in the Lego movies.
Oh wow!
Direct. So of course, Solomon loving Red Hood, I had to get the Red Hood Batman one for him. And then I'll probably buy the Shazam one if I can find it at Black Friday, because that's where I bought these. I found like the $2 and $3 DVD sales.
Yeah. So you probably get those for real cheap on Black Friday.
Yeah. That's why I make a list and go look. And then in the actual Lego Batman movie that was released in theaters, Superman was voiced by Channing Tatum. Now, film. So these are more movies or, in the animation market, direct to video. But our first one is our beautiful 1941 Bud Collyer Superman, the animated series. Or not the animated series. I'm getting tired. And I'm drinking coffee. Yeah, that one that we reviewed. What is it called again?
Fleischer Studios.
Good, Tyler. Love the S. We've talked in length about this one. It's a classic. And then the next one, could you believe this? The next one is 2006 Superman Brainiac Attacks. Voiced by Tim Daly. And this is such a weird one because it looks like it should be in the Bruce Timm universe, but it's actually not. It's a standalone. But they use like all the character models, and it's a horrible film. It is bad. I think I got it for like $1 or $2. Just to have, to like reference.
And you
collection.
still overpaid for it?
Yes. I think I've watched it once, and it's bad.
I haven't seen it yet, and I'm weary because that's all I've ever heard.
You need to. You need to watch it once. Experience it just like anything else. You just need to watch it so you can be like, dear God, why?
Right.
So, okay, so our next big jump
Like, it's super bad. It's Superman. It can't be that bad.
is when we get to 2007, which is the Superman Doomsday, which is the start of the direct-to-video films. And,
the DC animated feature line.
And this one is weird because they drew like some weird lines on his face that make him like look old and like beat up. Like it's a very classic kind of look, but it's like a darker tones. It's like they aged up the Bruce Timm style and gave it a little bit more color layers. But the face is just odd.
Yeah, I never liked those lines. It's like they like hyper accentuated his cheekbones or something.
It's weird.
I don't know.
Next is 2008. We're at Justice League New Frontier. Oh, wait.
Fantastic.
Adam Baldwin did the voice of Superman on Superman Doomsday. It wasn't bad. He did a decent job. I was like pointing out that. Okay, so New Frontier, love it. I mean, it straight up is the comic book brought to life. It has more of like the trunks that are more like shorts. Has the big S on the black. Voiced by Kyle MacLachlan, who didn't do a bad job.
No, but they give him the Superman speech, and he does the big clap and gets everybody's attention, and the character just draws that attention and that reverence.
Next slide is the Superman Batman Public Enemies in 2009, voiced by Tim Daly, and this is where they're basically Greek god-looking comic book characters brought to life.
Yeah, Ed McGuinness's art basically brought up to animation, and yeah, I mean, everybody is got an Adonis figure. Like they're all just beyond jacked.
Like I said, 2009, Tim Daly. So we're basically getting a Superman a year, 2010 is Crisis, Justice League Crisis on Two Earths, voiced by Mark Harmon. He did okay. I mean, but it's very much, the animation style for this very much feels like what becomes Young Justice. It's very similar. The way the Superman looks. This story, was written and was supposed to be like a story or a movie or something that was going to bridge the gap between where Justice League ended before Justice League Unlimited. So that's why like the cast of characters and everything is who they are. And I kind of wish they had just done this as an in continuity Bruce Timm universe film. But
yeah. I mean, it did a really good job, and maybe that's where they came up with the idea for the Justice Lords instead.
Maybe, but so now we're in 2010, and it's the Superman Batman Apocalypse, voiced by Tim Daly, and this art is different, a little bit more overdrawn in some ways. Like, I don't like the way Batman looks, like in his face. But it is very similar to the art pulled directly from the comic. And I cannot remember who did the art for this. But it is like the comic book art brought to life. The color is a little darker. The cape is bigger. And it's a great film, though.
Yeah, it definitely is. The Trinity versus Darkseid and his minions, pretty awesome.
2010 gives me one of my favorite shorts ever, and I hate that it's a short, but it's the Superman Shazam. Superman being voiced by George Newbern again. And Superman, he looks good here. Like, the animation is on point. Probably one of my favorite.
I like the colors too.
Probably.
I've always really liked the blue. Sorry.
No, I'm with you. That's what I'm saying. Like, going through it like this and kind of looking, this is probably one of my favorite looking animated Superman. I mean, it is. I don't know where I would rank it, but just it looks realistic, but not overdone. The colors work. Very
proportional.
Classic. Yeah, like this may be my favorite anime. Like, if I was gonna, like, I would love to see a series like this. Like, man, I might watch this again later. So next, 2011 is All-Star Superman, voiced by James Denton. And once again, this is a very much the comic book art brought to screen. It looks good. Soft features. Big, barrel-chested, but not overly done. Soft. The trunks look a bit more short-esque compared to actually being like a brief. And, yeah.
Yeah, and just beyond the Superman suit here, the animation they did for Clark Kent in that, how he's very hunched over and stuff throughout the animation, like, they did a very good job. And they're copying, like, the way that they personified the character in the All-Star book as well, but they did a very good job of doing that in the animated movie.
Now we're at 2012 with Justice League Doom, voiced by Tim Daly. The animation's good, but it's not my favorite. We're not to my.
I love the movie though.
I do too. We're not to my one I hate, but I do like this movie. It is a good movie. The voice cast is amazing. The suit is a little lighter, very classic. We haven't really departed much from just the classic Superman, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I mean, gold belt, round buckle, red trunks, whether they're briefs or shorts. But yeah.
So here's kind of a jump here. This very special film holds a place in our hearts. 2012's Superman versus the Elite. Superman is voiced by George Newbern. And this is I like this movie a lot, but the animation I don't always love. Because it is different from the comic book page.
And the animation is almost very, like, cartoon-esque. Like, it could draw the attention of a child more, I think. But
I agree.
The material is very serious and brutal in nature.
If you did this story in the animation of Superman from the Shazam, it would be amazing.
Oh my God, right?
Because I love this story. Like, it's one that first time I watched, I was like, oh, I like that. But I was so turned off by, like, Superman looks overly sized, almost ape-like. He's just big and hulking and blunt. And
yeah.
But once again, having that familiar voice does help. Because just kind of listening to it, you can kind of think of the other style of Superman that you've seen. Because once again, it's George. We should have kept a tally of who appears more. But now we go to 2012. So look, 2012 has 3 different Supermen in it. Because we have The Dark Knight Returns, which is 2012-2013. And it's voiced by Mark Valley. And he did all right. Once again, a lot of times with these, I think they try to get different casting styles to kind of go with the other people in the cast. And it's just Frank Miller's Batman and Superman brought to life. So big, boxy.
Right. They want the personification of what was done in the comic book, so like bring somebody who can fit that particular role as opposed to somebody who's made Superman their own for years.
Exactly. That's why the Peter Weller doing the voice of Batman and that I think works. But I wouldn't want like a continued Peter Weller Batman like animated series. So this brings us to 2013 summer with Superman Unbound, which is a great one that I watched because one, it's a good movie, it's a good story, it's got Supergirl, so it's something for my daughter to be thrilled about. And we're voiced by Matt Bomer, however you pronounce his last name, who is one of the few people to voice Superman who could play Superman in live action. And he currently, if you're like, who's that? He portrays Negative Man on Doom Patrol.
Yeah, he's the voice for Negative Man and plays Larry Trainer. He was in the running at the time before Cavill got the role.
Exactly.
To be a live action Superman.
And it's kind of sad because I think he would have been amazing. I mean, not that I don't want Cavill, but I'm just saying, like, he would have done a great job. And I like the animation for this. It's a little misproportionate.
He would have had to bulk up.
But once again, yeah, he would. The animation in this is very much kind of Brandon Routh style. When I say that, like, as your live model, where it's kind of slender, but yet he still looks buff, but more slender. I like
still muscular and athletic, but.
And then, so, once again, 2013, we got multiple animated Supermen. And we're going to jump now to the one that I hate with all fabric of my being, is 2013's Justice League Flashpoint Paradox. Superman is voiced by Sam Daly, son of Tim Daly, so that's cool. But, dude, I hate the way Superman looks in the early part of the film before Flashpoint. And, of course, he looks weird in Flashpoint where he's all skinny because they kept him underground. He looks misproportioned, weird, gunky, very bad anime style.
And he looks horrible when he first comes into the museum. He looks a little bit better when he is out there and he grabs the belt on the guy and is just holding his hand around the bomb. But when the first entrance into the museum, the Flash Museum, he looks terrible.
This is my least favorite. All right. Next least favorite is Next. This is probably one that nobody's ever seen, that was kind of forgotten. I don't even know what really this thing was, other than I found the DVD for $1. It was a direct-to-video kids Justice League Trapped in Time, released in 2014. Peter Jessup did the voice. The Superman has a very New 52-esque look to him, and just looks blocky and very cheaply done. But worth mentioning for this podcast. Now, 2013. That was thrown in there because I put that in the wrong place, because we get into now 2013's Justice League War, voiced by Alan Tudyk. This one stands out because even though we're now entering the continuity films, Justice League War has a slightly different voice cast than what will carry on, and a little bit more of a different design than will carry on. But this is straight up animated New 52.
Yeah.
I mean, very, very Jim Lee, and
Justice League War was based off of Justice League Origins, the first 6 issues of the New 52 run, written by Jeff Johns and art by Jim Lee. And Justice League War, they put the animation style as just that. So.
And so that segues into our next slide, which is the connected films, 2014 to 2020, where Superman is voiced by Jerry O'Connell, and that includes Thrones of Atlantis, Justice League vs. Teen Titans, Justice League Dark, Death of Superman, Reign of the Superman Hush, and Apocalypse War. We'll see where we have the standard New 52 inspired suit, and then we have the reborn suit that appears at the end of Reign, features prominently in Hush, and then is blip and you miss it in Apocalypse War. I like the reborn suit. You and I have talked in length about
being one of the best suits. Yes, definitely. I like the animation for the New 52 style suit that he wears throughout the early films. Jerry O'Connell, I love his voice as Superman. He was Shazam back in Justice League Unlimited, and he did a good job there. And I think he graduated, got to graduate to Superman, and he did a great job. And his chemistry with his real life wife, Rebecca Romijn, as Lois Lane, stands out well for their interactions in Death and Reign and Apocalypse War.
All right, so just kind of moving swiftly because we're almost done here. Justice League versus the Fatal Five in 2019 is basically just is the same Bruce Timm animation. George Newbern does the voice again. 2020 brings us to Red Sun, which is just worth mentioning because it's Superman, but it's a very Bruce Timm style Superman with the Red Sun, color scheme.
Yeah, I think the Red Sun skin in Injustice, the first one, is really good.
Yes. I thought about throwing video games on here, but I figured we could save that for another day. And then the last one we have is the most recent, which is Jason Isaacs did the voice in Red Sun, which is good. He did a good job. Weird, Jason Isaacs doing Russian.
Yeah.
And then the last one we have is Superman Man of Tomorrow with Darren Criss doing the voice. And the animation is weird in a good way. Like, just kind of still animation is odd, but watching it in motion, I don't mind. I like it. This film's grown on me a lot. I like a lot about this film.
Yeah, there are things I don't. There are things I do like about the film. His suit, not particularly one of them.
It's and
I've said at length before, they don't need to go back to the trunks, but I'm okay. Especially since it was an origin story, I suppose.
Yeah, like I told you before, I think I'll take the trunks in comics, animation, whatever. Just live action, it doesn't work. They got it to work for the Brandon Routh suit, but I don't really see it working well for like Cavill or Tyler as a continual going forward, especially in that kind of material and stuff. But I love the color, just the brightness of this. Darren Criss did a great job doing the voice. Mm-hmm. And I think that brings us up to modern time. I think that's, nothing's happened animation-wise with Superman since.
No.
The only thing we can mention is just, but it really wasn't anything, and it's not on here, is the David Hasselhoff voicing the Superman medal in the motion comic clip that they trailered the comic for. But yeah, this is Superman in animation. A lot of great voices. Check them out on YouTube. I'll try to throw some links in the notes for some of them. And my favorite still George, Tim, and Jason.
Well, check out the clip of George at the end of Justice League Unlimited when he's talking about the whole world being made of paper.
Oh yeah, do that
when he's fighting Darkseid. That's very good.
About not having to hold back. Especially from a Superman in the animated series that is very much a depowered Superman. That was one thing in the animated series is they brought down his power level a lot to really make it, have him fight, and it works for it. So, but we're going to kind of wrap up. We've been going a little long-winded here. I know James is tired. I'm tired, and we could go on forever. And that's not really our goal. We want you people to enjoy what we have to say and not be like, please shut up, guys.
Saying we want to go forever, as in just keep making episodes, not talk continuously forever.
Yes, this is true. All right. Anybody have any questions, thoughts, comments? Please shoot us an email. KryptonReportPod@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know your ideas. You want to say how much you like us, or if you want to say, hey, you guys suck, just let us know. All right? All good? No hate here. And remember,
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look in the sky.